What's up, everybody? My name is KSaun. Welcome back to the WDL, and this is our final week of our regular season. If you've watched up to this point, thank you so much for all your support, and just know from the bottom of my heart that I truly appreciate it. Again, if you've watched up to this point, you already know that all 6 spots in the playoffs have already been clinched. However, based on how wins and losses go this week, those seedings can change around quite a bit, and they can make a pretty big impact in terms of who plays who may be able to get that second bye next to the Ferrets. So it'll be interesting to see how things play out. So again, to take a look at how the standings shook up after the first 8 weeks of the season, we have the Ferrets who have already clinched first place. So the only thing on the line for him this week is that undefeated record. Other than that, there's really nothing to play for. JesusLBL in second place currently has 19 points, currently has the tiebreaker over the Sheerans and Wondrous Shoopufs. And to be known, JesusLBL, the Strawhats, play the Ferrets this week, so it should be the toughest week they've had all season. That being said, because he has those tiebreakers, he needs 1 point to clinch a first round bye. So if Strawhats wins one single game, even if he doesn't win the series, he will get a first round bye. So that is something really big to look at this week. Again, Sheerans and Wondrous Shoopufs tied in the standings. Sheerans has the tiebreaker over Wondrous Shoopufs. They played each other in week 1, and the Sheerans won that game. Another matchup to look out for, Sheerans play Bebop's crew this week. So realistically, like, the Sheerans could end up anywhere between 2nd place and 5th place. That is totally reasonable. So this week definitely is very important for the standings. And then Sandrooster, although he can't climb up all the way to the 4th spot, he beat Spike and Bebop's crew head to head. So if Bebop's crew loses 0-2, and Slim Chance Brigade wins 2-0, they could potentially jump up into that 5th spot. So quite a bit of things that can shuffle around, really. The only thing that's basically locked into place is that these 4 teams down here are out of it, and the Ferrets are going to be the number 1 seed. Again, just as a reminder, the top 2 get a bye, and then 3 versus 6 play each other in the first week of the playoffs, and 4 versus 5 play each other in the first week as well. So let's get into these matchups. Let's take a look and see what happens. So for matchup number 1, I wanted to start off with my team versus the Golgari Swarm, mainly because this matchup really doesn't have any impact on the standings. So if you do decide that you want to skip ahead, I will have timestamps down below, but I still think they should be some pretty cool matches. I'll be completely honest with you, Dr. Dickhead and I got these matches done very quickly in a small amount of time. Neither one of us really did any like test battles, so we didn't put a ton of thought into our teams, I don't think, but they should still be pretty fun to watch. So I don't want to over talk this video. The biggest thing I want to say is that I think Cloud matches up pretty well into Lock and Violet with his /+ ability. As long as he was able to get that off, he can pretty much 100-0 those evasion units if he's allowed to hit them. That being said, he does have a couple Earth units that may, be a little scary for some of my Lightning units as well. The biggest thing I wanted to do here too, and you're going to see that I pull it out for match 1, is not once have I used the Cloud Helena Orlando combo. And because I knew this was my final week, I really wanted to use this team just at least once. Even if it wasn't my best setup possible, I just wanted to use it. I didn't want to go through the end of season without using that team comp. So I'm going to show you what team I brought for that first match to see what the setup was anyway, and let's dive into it. All right, so the first game in our series here, like I said, I really just wanted to use Orlando, Cloud, and Helena. Orlando and Cloud are my 2 favorite units that I have on this team. And since I know that the standings don't really matter up to this point for me, I really just wanted to use my favorite units. I will note that in one of these matches, I think I realized a little late that I accidentally had Orlando's TMR off. Like I said, I didn't actually do any test battles for this series, and neither did Dr. Dickhead. So we kind of came into an even playing field here. But the biggest thing, what I wanted to try and do, if possible, was I had Cloud running the Kane TMR Dragoon helmet so that you would have haste and +1 movement. And very similar to a strategy that SurfTaco has been using a lot this season, is he will have either Victoria or Glaciella run that Kane TMR, and then his Time Mage will haste and quicken the other unit. So basically he has 2 just really offensive juggernauts basically hasted up, and then he has somebody in the back to quicken those units as well. So that was kind of the general thought process going into this team. I didn't put a whole lot of other thought into it other than that. I said, hey, I just want to try and blitz him with my 2 offensive units. Let's go ahead and see how it worked out for me. All right, guys, matchup number 1 here. So he is running Mont Leonis, a Summer Kilfay, and Halloween Little Leela. So not shocked here. I did expect the Halloween Little Leela and Mont. I kind of thought like Halloween Rairu might come out, to be completely honest with you. But first, turn 1 here, Little Leela Halloween comes up and just nukes my team. So Orlando is down to about 35% health. Helena is almost dead. And I'm hoping here she's charging a haste on Orlando while Orlando returns the damage. And this fight is starting immediately without a lot of buffs going on. He just deletes Little Leela off the map. So what is Helena going here? I'm hoping for a haste. She's actually going for Comets. So again, not doing any test battles here. Didn't realize this positioning would occur where he just instantly walked into my team. So she went for damage instead of haste, which I don't love. That being said, Cloud has his haste on, and he's going to go for the limit break on Mont. Only doing 3150, so not crazy damage. Mont actually tanking that up pretty darn well, I would say. So Summer Kilfay already has bells online. She doesn't have a second turn buff. What is Helena Leonis going to do? She starts channeling again, and honestly, it looks like she might be going for damage again. So this isn't the worst thing because she has that elemental advantage. And yeah, she does 4209. So she actually did more than Cloud's limit break into the Mont. So without her having that offensive damage, I think that part actually doesn't go nearly as well for me. So Mont returns the damage, kills Helena Leonis. Now it is a 2v2. What can Summer Kilfay do? She's going to walk up. Black Panther punish. Orlando is just hanging on. And I want you to notice, Orlando has exactly 1 health. Fully calculated on my part, obviously. Now, I did not realize that the first time this fight came through, that he hung on with 1 health. But I think I got pretty darn lucky there. So Summer Kilfay still gets another turn. She's going to take out Orlando. However, Cloud goes next, so this should all but be over for him. Walks up, gets the auto attack, and I managed to win game 1. I don't know if I win or lose that if Orlando dies the turn earlier, because I think Cloud probably could have picked up the kill, but I don't know. It's tough to say. I don't know if I've ever seen a unit hang on with literally 1 health without having courage. Like, the odds of that are just ridiculously bad. So I'm very sorry, Dr. Dickhead. I'm not sorry that I got the win, but I'm sorry that that's the way that happened. So anyway, let's head into match 2 and see how that one worked. Okay, guys, so for matchup number 2, I'm running the exact same team. The only change that I made was positioning. I put Cloud over by himself on one side of the map while having Helena and Orlando together here. I basically just wanted to avoid a situation where Little Leela Halloween and Helena or something like that just nukes my entire team. But man, Little Leela has so much range on this map. She literally walks up and kills Helena in 1 shot. So pretty unfortunate for me, as Helena actually put in a lot of work in match 1, and I'm instantly in a 3v2. But Crush Armor Plus comes out, and yeah, it's a 2v2 again. So both of these fights start out just incredibly offensive. I do manage to get the Dragon Pride buff up on Cloud, which I like. He's a little far away, so I'm hoping that he can get in range to do damage, but let's find out on our next turn here. So Helena's going to walk up. Does she go for the limit break or a channel? She's going to charge something. I assume this is Black Rose's Hex. And I'm noticing that Cloud gets awfully close to this Orlando with his Blade Burst. And yeah, wouldn't you know it, Cloud, you idiot. Step in range and take almost 7k damage on an AoE that she was already channeling. Not his smartest decision. So 2v2 up to this point. You have to imagine Mont's going to take care of Cloud. He actually misses because of the blind from Blade Burst, which is just absolutely wild. Cloud's going to walk up, get the auto attack on Mont, but now Black Rose Helena is going to get another turn. We are stacked up again for the second time. And you have to imagine she's just going to pop an AoE. Level 4 Darkra is going to kill both of them. And Dr. Dickhead quickly gets revenge in match 2 on me. Sorry about this for the Discord coming up here. This was just like where the video ended. But yeah, so we are going to a match 3. And let's see how this third match works out. Okay, guys, so for the final matchup, basically for my team, all that I really switched up was I put Naya in instead of Helena. My thought process was that he just brought Little Leela Halloween, and we were starting the fight like almost immediately after this, so I really didn't think he would change his team comp. And I was like, hey, if I just throw a reflect on my one unit, like, what is he gonna do? He's just gonna take all that damage back into him. I should easy win this. Wouldn't you know it, even though we started this match like 3 minutes later, he completely switched his comp up. So interesting move up by him, and we'll see what happens. So I get the Dragon's Pride up. He's running his evasion team with Mish, and I'm hoping Naya walks up and does reflect. Again, this is part of the not testing battles. She actually pops Black Rose Helena TMR instead of Reflect, which we'll see. The Toad actually didn't land on Cloud anyway, so not a huge deal. But Locke is going to go next, which means he should be able to follow up damage and kill Cloud. The one thing I have going for me is that Naya's sitting in the back, and she actually has 2 casts of full life. So she's going to walk up, and she is going to start channeling that, as Orlando is going to walk towards the rest of the team. Again, I noticed I didn't have his TMR buff on. I didn't realize that early. Who gets the cast off first? It's actually Meesh, and Meesh toads my Naya, so Naya cannot full life Cloud. And now all of a sudden, it is a 3v1, and this positioning is really, really bad for me. It actually just destroyed me. So one, not getting the reflect up, which it really wouldn't have mattered because I think she would have reflected Cloud rather than herself. But yeah, not a great start for me. Anyway, Crush Armor Plus almost kills the Violet. So this is not over because Orlando can do quite a bit of damage. It's just depending on whether he has the accuracy to get that. Toad goes off, does not land, crucially. So can Locke kill him at this point? He's going to go for the limit break. Gets 6k, he still lives. I need him to pop a massive limit break on all 3 here if possible. And he's not going to. He's going to go for Hellbolt Extreme. He ends up killing the Meesh with damage cap numbers, but Locke dodges it. Yeah, like I said, unfortunately, Orlando has like decent accuracy here, like pretty good accuracy in the build, but without Crush Armor Plus, his hit is just not reliable against a kind of toxic evade team. So that initial positioning really screwed me up. Like I said, I really didn't expect him to be able to switch his team up that fast within just like 3 minutes. So I'm assuming he probably had another team just like ready to go already. But props to Dr. Dickhead. Congrats on the W. So he will pass me up in the standings, but it is what it is. Like I said, I had a blast playing these games this season. And, you know, if I were to put more time into this match and thought process, I may have run a different style team or, you know, use different positioning or different things like that. But ultimately, I just really wanted to use Cloud and Orlando. They're like my 2 favorite units in this game. And I always said, hey, I want to go down with them no matter what. So anyway, that is our match. Let's get into some of the other ones that actually do have an impact on the final standings. Okay, guys, so for the next match that we're going to get into is probably the next match with the least impact on the standings. Like I said, Sandrooster, he is probably that 6th seed. The only thing that he could jump up to is the 5th seed if he wins 2-0 and Spike loses 2-0. So it is Sandrooster in the Slim Chance Brigade versus Unhindered in the Perfect Storm. Perfect Storm currently sitting in last place, trying to get a win to dodge out of that 10th place spot. Just looking at the team comps here, Unhindered has a lot of wind, so I just, you know, truly don't expect Oberon to come out here. I do expect the Agrius for the simple fact that Agrius obviously has elemental advantage versus wind. She's also just really good as a magic tank. So the 2 kind of fire threats that Unhindered has are both magic damage. So she has a good magic tank. She's good against wind, and she also has status effects, which are really, really solid. So that is like kind of the one unit that I expect to see from Sandrooster pretty much regardless. He very much likes to use that Murmur also with a little bit of hate. She can just get really high resist numbers. Like she can legitimately get 100 magic resist if you build it up that way. So Murmur, another unit I wouldn't be shocked to see. As far as the other ones, we'll have to take a look and see what happens, and let's get into it. Okay, guys, so for match number 1 here, Sandrooster versus Unhindered, we have Rain, Winter Luartha, and Sasha, or Sosha, versus Terra, Ishtola, and Agrius. So interesting combos coming out here. Like we said, the Agrius is pretty much expected. Other than that, hard to tell what Sandrooster might go with. Unhindered going with one of his classic teams with the Winter Luartha and Sosha together now. So that's the nice thing about having Sasha here is Unhindered has a nice extra damage threat for a low cost, or a different damage type rather than bringing like Zazan here instead. So Sasha's going to pop bells. We'll have plenty of AP in this fight. And Ishtola actually channels Protect on Agrius. I actually find this kind of surprising coming out from Sandrooster, because I know he has told me personally that he thinks Protect and Shell are just really bad spells if it's specifically just that spell. Obviously, they have good effects, you know, on something like Charlotte's Glorious Armor or something like that, but the spell on its own, I know he has told me before that he doesn't think it's very good. So I find it interesting that he's using it in this fight, actually. Binding Javelin comes out from Winter Luartha. Holy shit, 8,600 damage. And Terra is low and immobilized. Flaming Impact's going to proc that Courage, and Terra's almost dead already. Can Sasha follow up and kill her here with a Sharpshooter or something? No, because Agrius has a little bit of hate, and she's going to go for her. Wow, that was tanked up well. 280 damage, which is crazy. I think she actually procced her counter also that helped, but still, Oh man, Sasha reflexes the Agrius limit break. Wow, that is brutal. So she misses it. She does not land the confusion or anything like that. That is pretty big from Unhindered, I'm not going to lie. So the Terra's going to follow up with her own limit break. I believe this just goes to Rain. Let's see what kind of damage this ends up doing. 4857. Pretty good considering that Rain is supposed to be a magic tank. So what can Y'shtola do up to this point? She starts channeling. She's not going to do anything. Yeah, damage cap numbers onto Y'shtola. Terra did have both courage and re-raise, so she's still alive, but Y'shtola is down already. And Rain, is she in range for Agrius? He is, so he can't immediately get rid of the Terra. So that's huge because if Agrius can tank for a while, Terra can still do a ton of damage in this fight. If they pick off Terra, it's probably over. But yeah, as long as Agrius can tank, like there's still a shot. Taunting Blade from Agrius actually does a lot. Over 6,000 damage to the Winter Luartha. And Terra's going to go Meltdown Plus, but she steps next to the tank, which is not great. So this is a pretty damn close fight, though. I think Winter Luartha pretty much has to kill here. Javelin Fall, she does take out the Terra. Oh man, 2v1. What is Rain going to do on Agrius? Amethyst Blaze takes him out. And Unhindered picks up an early W. So very cool to see. Let's see what Sandrooster has in response for that second match. Okay, second matchup between Sandrooster and Unhindered. Unhindered actually changes his team up. So probably expecting a switch from Sandrooster, he decides to go with something else. Brings out the Joom, Regalia Glaciella, and Sandrooster brought Esther and Murmur this time. So what I will say is that Murmur can get pretty insane magic resist if you build it up. However, Esther is very weak to magic damage. So the big question to me is, can they get Regalia Glaciella to hit Esther? If not, I think Sandrooster probably runs this fight over. But if she can hit Esther, then it's, you know, kind of the opposite story. So Zazan's going to walk up, pop that Keen Blade. This is just such a value from a 20 cost unit being able to use that TMR. That TMR is so good. Joom's going to use her own TMR, get the defense and spirit up, and walk forward. And what is Glaciella going to do? Rally Magic really only benefits her. But either way, she should be ready to kind of pop off here in terms of damage. So Murmur's going to pop Black Rose Helena TMR, get the shield and agility up. Esther going to have re-raise. These fights are so different than my fights. My fights just started immediately. These ones, like, everybody gets like 2 turns of buffs. It's hilarious how different it is when you have like arithmeticians or, you know, people with really large ranges. Storm and Ren actually doing really respectable damage into the Murmur. Not bad down to Esther too, considering she has pretty good slash resistance. So Glaciella gonna hit Regal Tranquility. 11,000 damage onto the Esther. So that is what I was talking about. Esther is not good against magic damage. Oh, she does have a re-raise though. That is pretty huge. Murmur's gonna be dead. Esther goes next. Can she get a big old limit break onto the team? Looks like this is only gonna hit Joom, but this could do quite a bit because she should have a ton of slash tech pen. Yeah, 65-46 and drop slash tech resist. Agrius has the elemental advantage. So she takes out Joom. So this is not over. However, if Glaciella hits Esther here, it probably is over. I'm just not sure if she can reach that or not. Jamming Edge from Zazan. Yeah, Regal Tranquility is going to hit both. Another 11k. Wow. Glaciella I can't say it. I know Orange J can't say it either, so I don't feel bad, but whatever. Regalia Glaciella absolutely pops off, takes care of Sandrooster, and wow. I mean, Sandrooster's still in the playoffs, so no big deal for him. He's going to be that 6th seed facing off against whoever is that 3rd seed. But really good showing from Unhindered in his final week. That's really awesome to see. I know it's been a little while since he got a W, so I'm sure he's pretty excited to end the season off with a win. So congrats to him. Thank you so much for, you know, playing this season Unhindered. It's been a blast. And let's go ahead and check out our next series. Okay, guys, so for our 3rd series here, we have the Sappers versus the Wondrous Shoopufs. So MaechenX basically trying to improve his seed. He is currently sitting at the 4th seed. The highest he can get to is the 2nd. If Jesus loses 0-2, Machen wins and SurfTaco loses, he could get that 2nd seed. Otherwise, he could potentially get the 3rd seed if just one of those other things happens as well. So that is what he's trying to gun for here. So JEBAW versus MaechenX, taking a look at these two teams. First thing that pops out to me, obviously from MaechenX's side, he has Ketone, who has just been absolutely destroying people all season. And the Sappers has a really, really strong lightning team. That being said, that could be a little bit of bait. I think Summer Jaden could potentially kind of demolish Ketone. But again, this is part of the elemental, circle that I've talked about, where when I've fought MaechenX or I have fought against Spike or somebody like that, he has the ice that beats wind. So, kind of scares you off from running those wind units. So will JEBAW run just something more basic? Will he run a rainbow team? It'll be really interesting to see. From Maechen's side, I don't think he really has a reason not to just run some ice stuff. And potentially with a Ketone splash, like he could do that. But I think he has to at least run some ice. I very much expect somebody like Curry to come out because he's only 50 cost. And probably either Eliza or Freya. He could run all three, to be honest, but I think one of those two with Curry is almost guaranteed. I wouldn't be shocked to see a Ketone or Ildira splash or something like that. So yeah, let's go ahead and get into this match and see what happens. All right, guys, so matchup number 1 here, MaechenX versus JEBAW. He is actually running the full ice team, so I wondered if he would do like a Ketone splash, but honestly on this map, it probably does make sense just to go full ice because you can get so high up on kind of these, like, they're almost bleacher looking things. I think they're just like things for like cargo, but you can get really high up as an archer, and it allows you to basically hit from further away. So actually probably pretty smart move by Machen. Again, he doesn't have any sort of elemental counter to this, so not a surprise that he brings this out. JEBAW going with a rainbow team, Oron popping Pugilistic Mastery, so he should have quite a bit of defense pen here. Ravi's going to pop that Courage. Unfortunately gets frostbitten on the first turn from Curry, which you hate to see. Eliza going to go for the limit break. How well does Ravi's tank this up? She is a beast, but Eliza's also a beast. 54-17 on a crit. Honestly, as an MR tank, that's probably about as well as you can do, I think. She gets chained down by the entire team. That's just really, really hard to deal with. So she has her Courage popped, so she has 1 health left, and she is currently immobilized. Fryevi's going to take her out. So this is an early 3v2 with a tank on from JEBAW. The unfortunate part about Oren here is that he just doesn't have a ton of range. So it's hard for him to like traverse this map. They do have Summer Lilith also with range. But, if I'm a betting man, I would be going with Eliza versus Summer Lilith. I think she's just kind of a better unit. So Summer Lilith goes with the armor break arrow. 46-21 though is not bad onto the tank. Shadow Flare. Gonna drop that AoE resist. 2200 damage. So I don't know. This is pretty grim, to be completely honest, for JEBAW. I think Oren's going to have to do a ton because it's taking him like 3 or 4 turns to even access the fight. And not only that, Eliza is still in the back row. So it is going to take him so long to get anywhere near this. You have to imagine this fight is pretty much over already. Yeah, Fryev is going to take out Summer Lilith. It is now a 3v1. I don't know, Oren, if in the recent patch you got Reflex. If you did, you should start using it. I don't think that happened, though. So tracking techniques comes out from Eliza. Fryevia, what can she do? She goes for the Spellveil Blade, almost 3k coming from the tank. That's really solid damage. Spirit Breaker does almost 8k though. That, like, I mean, Oron, his damage is fine. It's just getting into range. He just doesn't have a ton of it. So against this team, like I said, MaechenX's team is so hard to deal with in this situation because Fryevia can just hold aggro for so long, and when you have 2 people with the range that Eliza and Curry have, it's just so incredibly hard to deal with. So, wow, very well played from MaechenX. I have to imagine that we probably see a different team come out from JEBAW, but we'll see how he adjusts and see how match 2 goes. All right, second matchup here between JEBAW and MaechenX. So with the full Lightning team coming off from JEBAW, I do think this is the strongest team he has, and if he's going versus Ice, I think this is probably a better bet. I think you pretty much just have to bank on the fact that he won't bring Ketone. And honestly, Ibarra is one of those lightning units that can actually deal with Ketone to an extent because she can drop that lightning resist on her, so she can actually do decent damage. And Solir, I think, followed up from Ibarra's damage, could probably take out Ketone anyway, so I think this is probably the best mode that JEBAW can come up with here. Ravi's, she needs to get out front, though. She pops the Shadow Cast. Interesting. So she is running somewhat of a dodgy setup. I've seen JEBAW do this before to some success, and I will say, if you make the Ice Archers use Sharpshoot, that doesn't do nearly as much damage as some of their other abilities are. So if you can force him to use the guaranteed hits, that is a pretty good technique. I have to imagine Curry goes for the Frostmaw Barrage though. He hits everybody but Ravi's. However, I will say the Frostbite's not as effective against the magic damage dealers because they typically have a lot more starting AP. Ravi's getting frostbitten is a bigger deal. Blade Bash comes out, does not land the stun. That would have been really, really helpful. What can Salir do though? She should be channeling like a Bolt Surge or something. She kind of stepped into the way of stuff. Yeah, she walked right next to the tank. That was not a great idea by Salir. Warning Volley's going to come out. If anybody can carry this, it's Ibarra, but she's got a ton of work to do here. Malevolent Lightning, what kind of damage is going to do to Fryevia? Not quite 6k. Does not get the crit. Yeah, Fryevia is tanking that very, very well. Frostmaw Barrage comes out, frostbites both of them now, and you have to imagine Eliza with all this AP is just going to take them down. Warning Volley. I will say, I think JEBAW was up against it in this matchup. This map, I think, is really good for MaechenX. I think it's just a really good map for archers. This was a map that we played a while back in one of Warren J's Friday Night Fight tournaments, and archers did work on this map. Just because you can elevate in that back row and it just takes them so long to get to you that I think it's just really, really good to bring those units. So that being said, again, JEBAW, thank you so much for playing. Heck of a season. I know you kicked my ass week 1. But yeah, it's been a really, really good time. Thank you so much for playing. I really appreciate it. And let's go ahead into the 4th match day. Okay, guys, our 4th out of our 5 matches is the Ed Sheerans versus Bebop's crew. So this matchup's pretty huge. As we just saw, MaechenX just won 2-0. So he is currently sitting at 20 points. So if the Ed Sheerans lose here, they will be lower than MaechenX in the standings. MaechenX will be guaranteed at least 3rd seed, potentially 2nd seed if Jesus loses 0-2. The Ed Sheerans, if they win this series, have the tiebreaker over MaechenX, so they are guaranteed at least the 3rd seed, again with potential for that 2nd seed, depending on what happens in the Turambar and Jesus matchup. That being said, Spike can also jump all the way up to the 4th seed, I believe, if he beats SurfTaco here. Whether it's a 2-0 win or 2-1 win, it doesn't matter. If Spike wins this series, Ed Sheerans will either have 17 or 18, and Spike will have the tiebreaker, which means SurfTaco would fall all the way to 5th, and Spike would be 4th. So this matchup is actually really, really huge in the standings, which is why I wanted to save it till one of the later matches. So let's kind of dive into this, though. So coming from the Ed Sheerans, his MVP this season has been Phoebe, along with that Astrius, I would say. He's got a lot of good kind of haste quicken comps that he can run. He hasn't had a single week where he hasn't ran a time mage. He hasn't used that Crace yet. I don't expect to see that anytime soon, to be completely honest with you. But I think Astrius is probably the unit I expect to see. I don't really expect to see Jaden because I think Celeste just kind of shuts him down to an extent. Like, I just don't think he does enough to Celeste. So I think it's either the Ice Girls or it's Astrius. I expect one of those two teams to come out with a time age. From Spike's side of it, I do expect Celeste. He's been running this team of Celeste, Luell, McLeod recently to a lot of success, and I would not be surprised to see that come out again. I think Luell has been, like, honestly, a second half of the year, like, kind of MVP. She's been an absolute beast. Celis has been a stud. Like I said, that 5, as you can see, 5 wins, 1 losses. She's been really solid. And McLeod is a 50 cost unit, is just a ton of damage. So that's kind of the teams that I expect to see. But let's get into the series and see what actually happens. All right, first game of this match, or of this series, a series that matters a whole lot in the standings, to be honest. Let's see who ends up taking this win. So a team that we haven't seen SurfTaco use yet, Astrius, Phoebe, and Warrior of Light. Normally he runs this with Glaciella instead of Warrior of Light, but him thinking that he needs a tank and that Astrius can just do all the damage himself, interesting option for him to go here. So Luell's going to walk into the team, get agility up on everybody. Celeste is going to run that Runic Blade. The Runic really shouldn't matter unless Phoebe ends up using an attack. However, it does give Protect and Shell, which is always really, really good. So Arrow Shield, Melody coming up. The accuracy not going to be super important, but the other buffs are pretty nice. Haste coming onto the Astrius. So this initial positioning, honestly, this is really nice because Warrior of Light actually, I don't think, has initial hate. And that actually allows Phoebe to run the haste on Astrius instead of Warrior of Light, which is really, really cool. So Celis, what is she going to do? Undefeated General's Pride, unit attack resist, and she has tons of hate now. So I think she has like 13 or 15 up to this point. So she should be able to tank for as long as she needs. Binding Javelin, holy shit, that just shredded Warrior of Light. 8,200 damage coming out from the MR unit. Crash Edge 1,000. This is looking really good for Spike early on. Edge of No Return, another only 2k. So Phoebe, is this going to be a quicken though? Asterisk getting to go again. This is the unit you got to watch out for. Unfailing Void Blade, a lot of AoE damage. But Luell has this move, Law of Geoabsorption. AoE heal, she knocks out 2 of them. Warrior of Light and Phoebe. It's now a 3v1. Asterisk is a beast, but this is going to be tough. He does get the counter though. He gets a decent amount of damage onto Celis. Celis doesn't hurt him. But this whole team is going before him. Yeah, Binding Javelin's going to come out. Celis is going to go again. She's sitting at 1,600 health. He gets another pressing advantage. You got 2 in a row, and now Celis is dead. And now he goes next. Tiger Maw. Oh my god. Don't do this, Asterisk. This was 3v1. Don't do this. Tiger Maw take... Oh my god. He got another one. He got 3 counters in a row. Who goes next? Asterisk is going next. He has 129 AP. Asterisk is broken. That's all I'm going to say. All right, we need to go and check out this next match, guys. All right, I'll be honest, that first match was pretty nuts. I really felt like Spike had the advantage that entire time, and Asterisk just like hard carried at the end. He got 3 counterattacks in a row. I know he has like a higher counter rate chance. I think it's like 30 or 40%, but that's still nuts. Like the odds of that happening is pretty crazy. So anyway, let's see if Spike can pull this back. He ends up going with the same team comp. I actually think this is a good move because like I said, I think he was set up for success in that first match if Asterisk doesn't get lucky with some of those counters. So Runic Blade comes out from Celis here. Again, getting that Protect and Shell buff off. This is the exact same team comps as the first match. The biggest difference is that SurfTaco's positioning is different on the other side of the map here. So let's see how this changes things up. Haste is going to go onto the Asterisk. What is he going to do? He's going to do Deep Fortification. Oh, I'm sorry. This is not the same team. SurfTaco actually running Glaciella rather than Warrior of Light. So this is his typical water, haste, quicken strategy. I think the change up here is probably seeing how fast Warrior of Light got obliterated by McLeod. So probably a pretty good move by SurfTaco, to be honest, hoping that he can bring another unit to just get some extra damage. So Astrid is going with his second buff. He now has like 18 different buffs on him in 2 turns, which is just absolutely nuts. And what is she going to do? Unit attack resist up. She already got some of that from the Luell buff, but obviously you want this just for the extra hate. Neutralizing Lance. Wow. Takes off the haste too and a ton of damage. Dude, McLeod is not a 50 cost unit. He is nuts. He is so much better than a 50 coster. So Glaciella can't reach. She pops Store. If she's able to hit next turn, she's going to hit like an absolute truck. I have seen her delete people with Leap Strike, and Astrius actually backs up to buff the team. I'm not sure if that's a good move. We'll see. Law of Geoabsorption, 3971. McLeod should be able to take this chick out. Yeah, 4229. So it is a 3v2. However, it is still Astrius. As we saw, he pulled off a 3v1 last game, so who knows? So Astrius is going to go next, and then Phoebe. He could potentially get 2 turns in a row here. He does go for the limit break on Celis, which is huge, because if he gets that follow-up attack online, he can really remove some people. Wow, only 1766. His Crystal Tracer actually did more damage, but yeah, Celis tanked that incredibly well, that unit attack resist. But the Quicken comes up. Can he get rid of this Celis now? McLeod is in range. Unfailing Void Blade. He kills McLeod, gets the follow-up on Celis. She is still alive, crucially. So what can Luell do? Law of Geoabsorption, 6247. Honestly, I think this Celis needs to proc Courage here. Rune Break, it does not proc Courage. This is looking dangerous again. Honestly, Astrius could pull this off because they need to do 2 more hits on him. Crucially for Spike, this is haste, not quicken. I think quicken would have been worse. He auto attacks the Celis. Can she go for a Law of Geoabsorption on both of them here? She actually doesn't. I'm actually shocked she wasn't in range for that, unless she used it already too many times. She goes for Drain Evocation on Phoebe. Edge of No Return's going to hit, and Crystal Tracer's going to crit for 4185. Astrius is an absolute animal. He is making a case for MVP of this league. He is an absolute beast. I think he took all 6 kills in this series. So Wow. Very, very impressive. Also, in terms of these two matches for Spike and SurfTaco, I hope I showed them in the correct order. I don't know if SurfTaco uploaded these, but I know Spike did, and they were actually titled as match 1. Like, both of them were titled as match 1. So I hope I did these in the right order. So anyway, heck of a couple matches. Honestly, I know it was a 2-0, but both of those were incredibly close. Those are some of the best matches we had yet this week. And there's one more series left to go. Turambar versus Jesus, currently our top 2 standings going into the last week. Let's see if it remains that way. Let's go check it out. Okay, guys, so before we get into this matchup, I just wanted to do a quick reminder for the standings here. So now, MaechenX and SurfTaco. Basically, SurfTaco has the guaranteed tiebreaker over MaechenX, and Jesus has the guaranteed tiebreaker over both of them. So if they were to get into a 3-way tie at 20 points, Jesus would be the top seed, and then SurfTaco, then Machen, just based on the tiebreakers. It has to do with whether you won head-to-head. Jesus actually won head-to-head against both of those teams, and then SurfTaco beat Machen. So in a 3-way tie, it is Jesus, then SurfTaco, then Machen. So Jesus only needs 1 point in this series to try and get the 2nd seed, but if he gets 2-0'd, he will be the 4th seed. So this is pretty massive, and I will say if there's anybody you're going to get 2-0'd by, it would probably be Turambar. He is undefeated up to this point. So Jesus really looking for 1 point, also looking for 3 points, because he wants to try and make Turambar not completely undefeated for the rest of the season here. So should be a heck of a matchup. Honestly, in my opinion, I do think these are the 2 strongest teams in the league. I think you can make a case for a couple of other teams. But I think Dark and Light are just really, really strong in general. And I think the 2 like scariest 3-man teams in the entire league are the Leela Whisper Gaff team and the Joker Renell Garvel team. I think both of these teams have just done so much work. You can tell by the win rates here, like 11-4, 9-3, 7-3, 13-2, 15-2, 12-2. Those units are incredible. So, in my opinion, I do expect Turambar to run Dark, and I would probably expect Jesus to run the same thing. That doesn't mean they can't switch it up, but that's kind of what I expect to see. So, it'll be really, really interesting to see what happens here. A couple of guildmates squaring up against each other. This is our final series of the regular season, and let's get into it. Okay, guys, final series of the regular season. Jesus does not go with his Dark team. He actually goes with the Light team, Ramza, Elsrel, and Fina. Turambar is running his standard Dark team, though. This team is just so ridiculous. Gets the AoE Protect on everybody. Light and Dark Resist coming up from Renell, a very good move against Jesus' team. Curious to see if Jesus does the exact same thing back to Turambar, because I think this is an incredible TMR against both of these teams. Ramza's Shout Plus ability, this move is so damn good. Again, an AoE Protect, just like Joker's, except the radius on this ability is just massive. So, Elsrel, Fina, looks like everybody going to try and pop some AoE buffs. Actually uses the Dark Veil, so interesting, he actually doesn't even have to run the Starlight Elena TMR. He runs Dark Veil, kind of similarly to what I did against him in my matchup versus Jesus. So area attack resist, Boon of the Lion coming out from Fina. And this is a really good tech by him because not only does he get the Dark Resist, but he also gets AoE Resist. If you're running the Starlight Elena TMR, you only get one of those. So pretty good tech by him. Garvel's going to have re-raise. He has his barrier online. He's going to be really, really hard to get rid of. And a magic attack resist buff up on the team as well. So both of these teams' early turns to this point have honestly been fantastic. There's been so many good AoE buffs, and they're just turtling. Sparkle Shower comes up. Honestly, 35-27 is really respectable because I think that was through the physical health shield. Oh, wait, no, I think it is. I just realized what I said. I think it's a physical health shield, right? Which means it actually doesn't affect that because it's magic damage. That would make sense. So Rams is going to walk up. Shimmering Blade, 44-29. Wow, so Renell is deleted. Early 3v2. However, Joker and Garvel are the main threats on this team. So this fight is certainly not over. So nimble movement coming out from Garvel. So he's really bulky. He has tons of movement. What can Joker do? He should have a big old AoE here. Swift Strike comes down. 1892 on Ramza. I don't think I've ever seen that ability do that little damage. That's actually incredibly well tanked by Ramza. Drain Rush. This should pop the barrier on Joker. I believe he has a barrier, and that should break it because it's 3 hits. And the auto attack comes out from Ramza, deletes him. So Jesus, needing a first round bye, only needs 1 point. This is looking really, really good for him. This is a 3v1 currently. Dark Veil comes out from Fina. Can she go and hit this Garble? Sparkle Shower, 28-37. They need to get rid of this Garble. He does have re-raise on as well. So Drain Rush, again, that Drain Rush tech is really, really good at breaking barriers, I'll be honest. Shimmering Blade, I think that was damage cap. I think he needs to upgrade Ramza's nodes, because that did 10,099, I think. Yeah, Jesus, if you're watching, I think you need to upgrade your Ramza's nodes for damage. Detonation Blast comes out, though, and Garble has Magic Reflex. He could Magic Reflex and delete this Fina. But no, Sparkle Shower comes out. Jesus gets the W. So, yeah, unfortunate for MaechenX and SurfTaco, but Jesus is going to keep that second place seed. He's going to get that first round bye because he did get a point. He's guaranteed to get that second place seed. And now at this point, up 1-0. The only other time this has happened in the entire league was last week when SurfTaco played Turambar. SurfTaco unfortunately could not close that out, so Turambar is still undefeated. We'll see if Jesus can do anything different, or if he's going to get reverse swept just like SurfTaco did. So let's go ahead and see what happens in match 2. All right, so match number 2 of our final series. Jesus, after getting that win, actually changes his team up. Turambar sticking with the traditional dark team, but Jesus says, hey, you know what? I got a dark team myself. Let's see how this works out here. So Joker's going to walk up, do AoE Protect, get that physical magical shield online, and the Aurora of Blessings. The one thing I'm curious to see here, the dark team from Jesus typically does not do super well against barriers. And the reason I say that is because his team does not have like chaining ability, and it also doesn't have any sort of barrier break abilities. So even though Elsarel had a really good way of breaking barriers on Turambar's team, I'm curious to see if this works as well in terms of like Jesus bringing his dark team, because he doesn't have a way to get through those. That being said, Lilo and Gat's damage is so crazy. Who knows? It may not matter. We'll find out. So Divine Shelter going to pop up, protect, shell, and regen. And both teams going to slowly approach the others. Double resist comes up. The Pearson missile resist, I don't think does really anything here. I think that's more just a tech against like Elsarel. However, you can't change your sub jobs once you're in the party screen. So I think Turambar probably expecting light, kept it as like a Nightblade sub job and couldn't really switch that. So he probably just kept the buff online to generate more AP, I imagine. So Store coming on from Golgari. His next hit should do a ton of damage. Quadra Break from Whisper, and Renelle again kind of out of position. However, this time she is going to get to go before she gets deleted. Oh, actually, wait, I think Quadra Break breaks your agility. It looks like Leela might actually go before her. Detonation Blast, that is not a ton of damage onto the Whisper. Can Leela get rid of Renelle before she goes? Graceful Undoing, that is a giant AoE. That's some good damage. And now Golgari's going to get to go next. Abyssal Blade Dark deletes the Garble. Does he have re-raise? He does. Okay, he does have re-raise. So Whisper has 24 AP. What can she do? Taunting Spell gets rid of the Garble. It is a 3v1. Could Turambar's undefeated streak come to a close? Can Jesus close this out? Maiming Slash, decent damage, but that's not going to be enough. Leela Bull's going to go Secret Slash. Oh my gosh. Could this be the end of the undefeated streak from Turambar? Surge Strike comes out from Golgari, and it is. Wow, Turambar 8-0 up to this point. It took it to the very last match of the entire season. But Jesus gets a W against his own guildmate. So Jesus not only clinches a first round bye, he clinches that second place spot going into the playoffs, but he gets a kind of convincing win in match 2, 3-0 there. So a 2-0 series win, really, really well played to Jesus. I mean, honestly, Turambar's a fantastic player. He's got a fantastic team. But it's kind of cool to see nobody undefeated up to this point, because it kind of makes you see like, hey, Turambar might not just completely run away with this in the playoffs. So I think some of the matches should be really, really good. I'm excited to watch those. Even if I'm not a part of it, I'm very excited and curious to see how they go. So that being said, let's go ahead and take a look at the standings real quick and some of the final stats of the regular season. And I'll just give you some closing thoughts of mine on the regular season as a whole. So before we get into the final regular season standings, I just wanted to go over the stat leaders at the end of the season. And in Discord, I will probably post a graphic showing more of like the top 30 or 40 of each one of these things. So if you are curious to see just past the top 10, like how people ranked on this, I will post something like that in the Discord channel so that people can kind of take a look at that. Because I do realize that past the top 10, you can't see anything. And a lot of the teams aren't necessarily in the top 10 for a lot of these stats. And I'm sure people want to look at the total stats of their teams and different things like that. So I will make sure to post that in Discord, just an FYI. That being said, looking at the top 10 for the assist leaders, Phoebe with the commanding lead at 37, Renell at 33, Whisper at 32. So all very good performances by all three of those units. Joker, Garvel, Curry was at, McLeod, Gathgarian, Eliza, and Glaciella. In terms of KDA leaders, we have KSaun still number 1 at 17 KDA, 9, 1, and 8. Incredibly impressive. We did have some other units that were that high, like halfway through the season on the Fire Ferrets, but they've just been in too many fights. I think that is one of the issues I will point out with like KDA stats, is sometimes you get characters like Lorenzo, for example. He only got played in one series all season, so like he did very well. It was against me. He did incredible. But he's on this match because the more and more you use units, the more likely it is that you stack up deaths, which means your KDA should not be that high. Unless your units like Little Lila the Bold or Astrius or something like that, who, even though you get a ton of run, you're just a really, really good unit and your KDA is still really good. So anyway, KSaun definitely in the lead here with 17. Little Lila the Bold, 8. Astrius, Sakura, Luell, also a really, really well-performing unit. Same with Eliza, 15, 5, 16. Joker, 27 and 23. Very, very respectable. Lorenzo, Oberon Heimler, and Victoria wrapping up the end of the KDA leaders. And finally, the last one before the standings, the kill leaders, Astrius, 6 this week. So he is sitting at the top all alone with 24. Little Lilo the Bold at 20. Joker at 20 as well. Slightly less kills per match, though, than Little Lilo the Bold. She gets 1.5 about per match. Again, this is something really impressive about Astrius, too. 2.18 kills per match. So yeah, that's absolutely disgusting. He's been brought, I think, 11 times, if I'm doing the math right. So he's been brought in 11 matches, 24 kills. That's absolutely crazy. Garvel here at number 5, Eliza at 6, Ibarra at 7, Helena Blackrobe Witch at 8, Tara at 9, and I finally do get one unit on the board on one of these lists, and it's my boy Cloud at number 10. But the thing that is most important, and this is kind of the final snapshot that you're going to see of standings of this league, because the only other thing really to show you is kind of the bracket for the playoffs and stuff like that. So the way it ended up turning out, Turambar and JesusLBL are our top 2 seeds. They will both have a first round bye in the playoffs, so they do not have to play anyone the first week. They are basically allowed a free pass. They don't have to win to keep going. So congratulations to them. Both really, really well deserving. Both teams did really fantastic. And yeah, good job to both of you guys. So 3rd and 4th, we did have a tie, and it is kind of funny to me that this tiebreaker was literally in the first week. I don't know if you guys can view this graphic, but week 1, actually it doesn't show what the week was in this graphic, so I apologize. But the week 1 matchup was the Sheerans versus Wondrous Shoopufs. I remember that fight because fight 1, Wondrous Shoopufs pulled off like a crazy 3v1 with Valentine Salir, and then SurfTaco brought it back in matches 2 and 3. That week 1 matchup was the difference between the 3rd and 4th seed. So that essentially means that the Sheerans will be playing against Sandrooster and the Slim Chance Brigade in the first round of the playoffs, and the Wondrous Shoopufs will play against Spike and the Bebop's crew. And just for kind of like notice as to see like what happened in the matchup the first time, I do have this graphic down here. So if you take a look at SurfTaco and show what happened against Sandrooster last time, he did beat Sandrooster, and Sandrooster actually got 0 points against SurfTaco. So it was a 2-0 last time. Be very curious to see if Sandrooster has any sort of adaptation or something else that he can pull out to try and make it more of a close series. It'll be very, very interesting. And at the same note, MaechenX versus Spike, if you take a look at that series. So MaechenX won the series versus Spike. Again, he is the higher seed, so kind of expected, but he beat Spike last time. And Spike also got 0 points versus MaechenX. So I do want to point out again, I've said this before, but the playoff series are actually best of 5s, not best of 3s. And essentially the way it is going to work is every single game of the series is going to be on a different map. And the maps are picked essentially match 1, 3, and 5, if we make it that far, are chosen by the higher seed. So for example, SurfTaco versus Sandrooster, SurfTaco will pick the map for match 1, 3, and 5, and it will be a unique map every time. It won't be the same map. Sandrooster will get to pick the map on matches 2 and 4. So should be really, really interesting. There is an advantage to being the higher seed, but I think it'll be really cool to see these matches play out against a bunch of different maps, because sometimes you can get two teams that match up against each other and one team just has like a crazy advantage because that one map just happens to be like broken for that team. So I think that'll be really cool to see. But yeah, that's kind of like the ending to the standings here. Dr. Dickhead did manage to get 7th place here, only 1 point out of the playoffs because he did beat me into our series. I ended up in 8th place as I have the tiebreaker over Unhindered. Unhindered actually jumped out of that last place spot right into 9th place with his win this week. And unfortunately, JEBAW is in last place with those 8 points. Kind of surprising as he did start the season out 2-0, but you never really know what's going to happen. I mean, Jesus lost the very first week, and that was his only 2-0 loss in the entire season. So you never really know what's going to happen. But honestly, I thought this league and this regular season was a lot of fun. I think it was a pretty good success in my opinion. I do realize that my channel has kind of changed in terms of like what kind of content I've been bringing. If you are somebody who just wants to watch guides, I do apologize for that. But like I said, this is not something that I do for a job, and it is something that I want to put out videos that I enjoy putting out. So if it's content that I like doing, I'm going to do it. And unfortunately, that is kind of what this has become over the last like couple months or so. I really wanted to try doing something like this, and I think it was overall pretty good success. So anyway, this has been a blast. Thank you guys so much for watching. We are taking 1 week off, so do not expect a video next week for the playoffs. We are allowing the players basically an entire week off before the actual playoffs start. So in about a week and a half or like a couple weeks from now, expect that first playoff match, like, you know, a couple series between SurfTaco and Sandrooster and MaechenX and Spike to come out. Then the following week will be the top 4. In the following week after that will be the grand finals. And yeah, I don't know where that puts us in terms of the schedule. Probably like halfway through December when this will all kind of be completely finished. But I'm looking forward to it. So thank you guys so much again for watching this, and have a wonderful day.